The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Tokucast. Episode 165. I lied to you. So, I saw Godzilla Minus one yesterday.
You saw it too! Ah! Yay!
So yeah,
I'm so happy!
we're going to be reviewing...
It's the happiest I've ever been from a surprise review.
Godzilla
Let's fucking do this. Let me pull the wiki page up. Holy shit.
I was like, oh, it's so hard to keep a straight face when I was pretending that
I know, it's hard for you to keep a straight face regardless, but I had no idea what you had planned. The last time this happened, the subject matter was kind of serious, so... Well, it was serious, but now here we are. Okay, Godzilla Minus one. I saw this yesterday. What theater did you see this at?
I'm going to go see it at West Tower.
Oh. Okay.
What?
I was wondering if you were at the same screening I was at last night.
No, I saw it at 120 in the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it at night. Godzilla Minus one. The 70th anniversary of the Big G. That's how that's our opening title, 70th anniversary of Godzilla. We're here. So the way our movie opens, I was not expecting to see Godzilla this soon.
Same.
I was not expecting to see him in this form.
Same.
So we have Koichi Shikishima. He's our lead character for the movie. He's a kamikaze pilot.
At the end of World War II.
At the end of it's like the last days of World War II. He flies to a remote island that is
Odo Island,
which is specifically designed for repairing kamikaze planes. And
what? I'll say this about this movie before we really go into it.
Okay, go ahead.
I love the themes of it talking about the kamikaze pilots, how those planes were built without ejector seats, and just
a lot of planes in general, because one of the things they go into in this movie is like, our country doesn't value human life.
Yes.
That tanks were made with cheap parts.
Yes.
People died of starvation and disease because they didn't restock supply lines ready
and they refused to say anything about it to the press or on radio.
Nope.
Or in, I guess at this time, movie theaters and things like that. It was just, I love the commentary that they put around that. There's no respect for you as a person, especially if you're a kamikaze pilot. And the way that people end up treating him after they learned that is like...
that he's a coward.
Yeah.
It's like, what, you were afraid of dying? Well, how dare you? It's because of you that we lost the war, as his, neighbor says. It's because of you that my children died. And just feeling the guilt and the shame and the fact that he's also lost his parents when he comes home. He comes home and the production design of just like seeing everything, it's destruction, but it's portrayed on a scale that is so intimate.
It's also interesting to see Tokyo taking, because that first couple minutes takes place over 2 years. It's interesting to see how long it takes for things to start getting rebuilt.
Because we get title cards of March 1946, so on and so forth. But back on Odo Island, so Tachibana, the main mechanic, is like, so we couldn't find anything wrong with your plane, and he's like, well, what are you implying? And he gets a little upset. But time goes on. He goes to the beach, and he sees deep sea fish, and there's swim bladders. I'm pretty sure that was like their swim bladders that have been like bursting out of their bodies because of the change in pressure. And they're like, well, what? It's like, okay, that's weird. And then later that night, we hear some stomping, hear a little bit of growling, we hear some cacophony off in the darkness, and he's like, hey, light up the beach. It's like, okay, he does, and we see Godzilla. And he looks much more dinosaurish.
He's much smaller.
It's much more like Godzillasaurus that we saw in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Yeah.
It's like that version, but he's much more, the way he is like hunched over and the way his legs are smaller, the way he's more slender, he moves kind of like a T-Rex.
Yeah.
And it's really cool seeing this so early and seeing him that much, it's like, he's a lot smaller than I thought he would. But then it kind of like the gears were turning in my head and I'm like, oh, he's going to get bigger later. Because sure enough, we see footage of the Bikini Atoll atomic tests, and we see him under the water, and the way it's just like a close-up shot of like his skin.
Yeah.
Like around where his eye is, I think, and you just see his skin start to like blister and crack and burn, and it's like he's being mutated. This is it. It's happening, and it's a rapid mutation because shortly thereafter, yeah. And it's just a great look into the life of post-war Japan.
It feels a lot more like, in all honesty, the original one. It's like nuclear things are bad.
It's like the original kind of. I got a lot of Barefoot Gen vibes. Did you ever watch Barefoot Gen? And it's an anime movie from the 70s, I want to say, and it's about a little boy and his mom struggling to survive after the Nagasaki bomb hits. I think they're in Nagasaki, and so it's like them trying to survive and just like watching just like the destruction around them. So it's like that kind of intimate look at life in post-war Japan, where we have Koichi, and like the day he comes, like a few months after he comes back, he's in line at like a soup kitchen type thing. Woman runs by. She's accused of being a thief. She shoves a baby into his arms and she runs away. But they meet up later, and
after he almost leaves the baby behind.
He almost leaves the baby behind, but he looks back. But then like he turns and looks back at her, and he's like, you know what? No, I can't do that. That's just too cruel.
And then the woman comes back and is like, oh, you could have left her behind.
Because she was just like waiting in the alley, watching him the whole time. It's just like, well, you were waiting out in the open. I couldn't go talk to you, which I thought was pretty funny. But turns out she is Noriko, and the little baby is Akiko, and it turns out she is not the child's mother.
No. They adopted her.
The
mother gave her.
The mother, with her dying words, was like, "Here, please take care of my child," because she was orphaned during the bombing raids, and Noriko. So they have like a little like dysfunctional family that comes together, a little family unit that comes together, and we see like Akiko coming home. It's like, oh, did you find? I love that scene of like, did you find work today? He's like, yep, got a 3,000 yen advance. And she's like, what? Okay, that is a scam. And then turns out, no, it's government work clearing harbor mines.
Yeah.
Clearing underwater mines. And it's like, don't worry, we're going to be in a boat. This got one of the biggest laughs in the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know about your screening, but don't worry, we're going to be in a boat that's specifically designed to avoid harbor mines. And we cut to him, and he's like on the docks. He's like, look, we see like his, it's like a head-on shot of him like, these are the boats, and they're just like these rickety old boats, but they're like completely made of wood, and some of the mines are magnetic, so that's how they're able to avoid it.
I think one of the big things that happens before that, though, is we end up seeing the neighbor, helping after being so mad.
What's her name?
Sumiko.
Sumiko, thank you.
After being like so angry at him, but it's just like she hears that.
You have the nerve to show your face, but then when she sees that like he's kind of got a little family there.
Yeah.
She's like, all right,
I'll breastfeed the baby, whatever.
She gives them rice.
Yeah.
She gives them her prized like sack of white rice. She's like, this is, and like she hands it to Noriko, and then she like takes it back. She's like, this is not for you. And then she hands it off to Koichi and is like, make gruel, give it to the baby.
Yeah.
She will die of malnutrition if you don't.
Yeah.
And then she walks off, and she's like, well, there goes my prized white rice, but it was for a good cause.
She ends up being probably one of my favorite characters in this movie, in all honesty. For how like little that she has to do with like the overall Godzilla of everything. The way that she ends up dealing with Koichi and
Noriko
and Akiko is just like helping out with the family, and basically ends up becoming sort of like a
they call her auntie.
Yeah,
Oto-chan.
Yeah, just like I love their whole dynamic and how she more or less ends up forgiving him the more the movie goes along. So I love to see that even though she was a side character, she had her whole arc, and I love that for her. But the crew of that ship.
The crew of the ship, I just got to start by saying the acting in this movie is phenomenal across the board.
Agreed.
Everyone in this movie is great.
It's great.
But you've got kind of like so we have the captain of the boat. It's kind of this like surly, ex-military, doesn't like the government.
Pretty much everybody in this movie is
kind of like a grizzled vet, and then you've got I love the Doc.
The Doc's great.
The Doc's great. He looks like a live action anime character in the best way possible. He's got like the gray hair that's kind of like swept to the side, got the curls at the end, And I love his glasses, and like his whole look is very cool.
Yeah.
Very smart, very cool. And they got the kid who was too young to serve in the war, and the older guys have to be like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. We were not fighting. It was not this. Because that's one of the things that this is. In the way that Shin Godzilla was a critique and satire of Japanese politics in the year, mostly in the year 2016 where it came out. I don't know how much it's changed since then, but who knows. But, the way it's a satire of that, the way we are seeing post-war Japan on such an intimate scale, the way we're seeing PTSD, distrust of government, hatred of government that just like drove so many people to their deaths, that didn't value human life, and it's just so well done.
You really see it in how, like, when everybody comes together to try and beat Godzilla at the end, you end up having pretty much all these retired military men. And you can sort of see it just how they're talking about everything, just how depressed and angry, and a lot of them seem really lost with how they were treated post the war because, Japan lost this, so they're treated like nothing. For the most part, and you would think they would be treated better.
They're just doing what they can to survive. They're the way they rely on each other. I mean, we get that great little montage over like an acoustic guitar score of them just going through their day-to-day lives. I actually really like the technicalities of like how they show them clearing the mines. Yeah, where they have like a hook on the end of a rope
between two boats.
Between the boats, it cuts one of the things, and then they have like a mounted gun on the boat that they use to shoot the mine once it rises to the surface. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, and they set up a lot earlier on in this movie
to how the rest of the movie ends up playing out, and I loved it because there was like, oh, we're not doing this in some convoluted way. Like, no, this is what happened. This is how we're going to make this happen. This shows why this happened, and then we're gonna go from there. It was a straight shot, and I love that.
Yeah. The scene, like after that little montage, and we get the scene of the four of them having hot pot at their house. Like, I honestly teared up when that happened. Yeah. Just that image of like seeing like friends hang out with each other amidst like all the bleakness and the death that we've seen so far was just so nice. And when Akiko calls Koichi daddy during that scene, but he's like, no, I'm not your dad.
Because they never get married.
At least not in this movie. I mean, if they make a sequel to this, who knows?
I almost hope they don't know, honestly. Or at least if they do, make it years later.
Same. I would prefer that as well.
Like decades almost, even.
But Godzilla then reappears. I think this movie appropriately uses Godzilla. Yes. I think he's in it enough.
He's in like pretty much 4 scenes in total.
He's in the beginning because you get that scene on Odo Island at the beginning.
Hold on, before we get there, I love the fact that we got to see like, we can't really rely on the Americans right here because if they end up sending out any ships, this is during the Cold War.
That I really liked how that played into it. It's like because we get like newsreel footage, and like broadcast footage of like ship sank. All this stuff is happening. People, being destroyed at sea.
General MacArthur, okay?
And it's like, we hear an English-speaking broadcaster saying like General MacArthur encouraged the Japanese people to remain strong as ships cannot be provided at this time because
of tensions with the Soviet
because of tensions with the Soviet Union. We're actually playing like world politics into this, so Japan is even more isolated as a result, which I thought was really cool. Because of that,
it's like you do end up having some U.S. ships out in the ocean, but you end up having this part where they show like the trail of where the ships are, and the ships are constantly getting destroyed as something is moving towards Japan.
Something's coming towards Japan, and the two mine clearing ships. They go out to this wreck.
This might be one of the coolest shots in the whole goddamn movie because of what happens after and what they show up to.
What shot are you referring to? Go ahead.
The shot where they show up to the boat. And it's a big destroyer class ship, and it is destroyed. And only Koichi knows what this is, but he hasn't seen Godzilla.
Yeah, he tells everyone this is probably Godzilla, and he tells everyone about his story on Odo Island, and then Godzilla shows up, and he immediately takes the other boat out.
This might be one of the angriest Godzillas.
This is the meanest he's ever been.
He's just
Godzilla's mean in this one.
There's a scene later I want to talk about when we get to it. But
of course.
It
There are
had me
many
dying
scenes.
because of something else. But yeah, when you see like the destruction that he did at that ship, I think he shows
Godzilla in previous incarnations, I mean, we've seen him in like, you go back to 1954, he is the atomic bomb incarnate. He's just like walking destruction, doesn't really have a mind of his own in mind. He's just like going, and wherever he goes, destruction follows. He's the bomb incarnate. We go later on into the Showa Godzillas, and he's the villain, and there is a heroic kaiju like Mothra who's there to stop him.
Yeah.
Or sometimes he'll be cast in the hero role to fight someone like Ghidorah.
Yeah.
And then we go on into the Heisei, Neo Heisei. He's like an anti-hero.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy, but it's better than getting destroyed by something else.
It's better than the alternative.
Better than the alternative.
Because at least Godzilla will just leave.
Usually that's how it goes. You look at the MonsterVerse, and again, we're getting into that anti-hero role with 2014's Godzilla versus Kong. He's like kind of the villain again, but then at the end, it's like we got to team up to fight Mechagodzilla. And now we have this.
We have aggro Godzilla.
This Godzilla, the way, for starters, I want to say this movie looks incredible.
It does.
The whole movie looks great. It's gorgeously shot. Godzilla looks amazing. And they give him so much expression on his face. And
Usually
that
it's
expression is angry. Like every time, especially like post-mutation.
Yeah. Dude's just mad.
He looks angry.
Yeah.
And he looks pissed. And he is just a mean monster who is out to destroy everything.
And it's also just cool seeing, like, he feels like a shark, but like so much bigger when he first shows up again after post mutation, because you see the spines come out of the water, so it looks like a shark's fin, but it's like the Meg ain't got shit on him. So
Did you see Meg 2?
No.
Keep it that way.
Okay.
Keep it that way.
But it's just
Meg
like,
1's not bad. Meg 2.
that first scene after you see him, what he's done to that ship, and basically the fact that they're being sent out as a distraction.
We're here to stall.
Yeah, we're
Captain
here to stall.
acknowledges we are here to stall for time. There's nothing we can
Until
do
the
against this
Takao
thing.
gets here from Singapore,
Yep.
we're here to stall. Mm-hmm. And so, like, it's them in the other boat, and they're like, "Oh, we can do this," knowing they're going to die.
We'll just have to do our best. It's all we can do.
And then the other boat, like Godzilla, just comes out of the water.
just glump. Nope, you're gone.
It just destroys the other boat.
Devours it whole, and then we get
A chase scene.
a great chase scene of Godzilla swimming behind this little wooden boat. They're shooting it with the gun. It doesn't work.
They throw down a
They
mine.
throw the mine. The mine doesn't work, but then they get the idea. Get the mine in his mouth.
Well, actually,
'Cause
that happens on accident.
I know, but they get the mine into his mouth. Well, they get it into his mouth, but then they try to pull it,
And it doesn't
It
work.
doesn't work because the detonator got destroyed.
Yeah.
And they shoot it, and it blows his friggin' side of his head off.
Yeah.
But he regenerates.
Yeah.
Regenerator G, baby.
And then he stands up. And
Stands up and he's like...
It's such a different feeling seeing something stand in the ocean. Because no.
It's like I'm not sure if he's like full on standing or if he's actually like treading water because
Yeah.
he has that huge tail.
Yeah.
So he's probably able to like right himself up in a way, and he can just still like appear that he's standing in deep water.
But something shouldn't be standing in the
But
ocean.
like seeing him like rear up for the first, this is the first time we see him like fully stand like as
Yeah.
more of an anthropomorphized beast, and it's a
roars.
terrifying shot. And he roars. He's getting ready. It's like they're like all hope is lost. But then the Takao shows up.
Yeah.
This destroyer shows up, starts blasting Godzilla.
He's like, no. Then he pulls a Dio. Oh, I see you're approaching me. So he goes over and just like rips the top off of the ship, and he gets shot and he like goes down under the ship. You see like the sailors like, oh, at least we got him, and then. From under the water.
The first time we see the breath, it's a shot. Godzilla is under the boat. In the words of Captain Quint, he's got under the boat. And just the fact that it's so quick.
Yeah.
Because normally, I mean, like
It's like a ray.
it's like
Ultraman.
you think it's the Zeppelium beam. You think of whether it's the older Godzilla, where you think of Shin Godzilla in particular, where it was like a long stream of fire that eventually concentrated itself into a blast, and then it comes out of his out of his spines on his back. In this one, it is just like he takes a deep breath and then like, bah! And then it's just like a blast. And like it's so quick and so loud and so powerful. And the after effects. We've never seen after effects on his breath like this before.
Yeah.
It's usually just like, bah, everything is destroyed.
Yeah, because of the fact that it's usually one beam, it doesn't end up having that percussive force after the fact when it ends. So it's
This
just
one,
yeah.
it really is like he just like shot an atomic bomb out of his mouth, because it's just like it comes up, it cuts through the ship. There's just a huge explosion, and there's like a mushroom cloud. The ship is just gone, and he like retreats back to the sea to recuperate and rest, because
before he starts moving.
this isn't because the atomic breath is something that takes a lot of power for him to use.
Yeah.
It's something that is very exhausting for him to use. It's not like he can just like flip it on and off like he does in other movies.
Yeah, usually he ends up having to leave right afterwards.
Yeah.
But then they end up finding out that, I guess Japan as a whole is within his territory.
Yeah.
And the first
he's a big old beast marking his territory. You
after
drop bombs on his house.
After Noriko comes, gets a job.
She gets a job in the city in Ginza.
Which is great. I loved Ginza. Ginza was really nice. I really liked that place.
For those unfamiliar, he did go to Japan recently. Watch the whole video.
He shows up in Ginza when he finally makes his way onto...
When he first makes landfall.
They tried to blow him up with bombs. And of course, as we've seen, that doesn't work unless it's on the inside of it.
They try shooting him with tanks. And that's like really the only defense they have is the tanks at first.
After the line of bombs in the ocean.
Right, because they have like mines laid out. They have that they have like on detonators that they can blow up whenever he gets too close.
And then that does nothing. He makes landfall in Ginza, and we see Noriko in the train after Godzilla's already made landfall, like started destroying stuff. We see like this whole news team on top of a building.
Yeah, people are. It's a couple of guys with cameras, and then one guy with a microphone and like a little broadcast machine for radio. Oh man, this scene.
Yeah,
this whole scene.
And then, Koichi, tried to go to Ginza because I guess it's close enough to where they live. They go to Ginza and try to get Noriko out after she was in the train that Godzilla picked up. And she falls.
She was in one of the cars. She falls into a river.
Yeah.
There's like a little like reservoir river next to her, because Godzilla has like moved in such a way that if she lets go, she can fall right into the river. She does. And then she's just kind of walking in a daze.
And everybody else is screaming.
Everyone is screaming and running past her.
Godzilla back there.
He's just back there. I mean, like, the power that they convey with him. When you see him, like, step on the road.
And step on people.
You see him, like, step on the road, and, like, part of the road, like, bends and caves up. And you see, like, everyone who was on that part of the road just, like, fly up and then land back down.
And then Goichi comes and, like...
Goichi manages to get her, and right as he's about to use his atomic breath, she pushes him into an alley.
Well, it's after that, because he, Godzilla, preparing for that atomic breath, too. Like, all the spines launching
Because you see his, from, the tip of his tail to the, back of his neck, all of his spines are and, it's kind of gross, but also kind of awesome just seeing them, push each other out. And then once he lets loose, all of them at the same time, they all contract.
A launcher.
Like he's really forcing it out, and just again, it's one single powerful blast, not a long beam, just and then
it's so different seeing it this time, because the first time we see him use it, he fires it up, so we don't end up getting that ground impact. This time it hits. Ground.
It hits the ground. There was a giant crater where it hits. And the way it's because it's a giant wind blast outward because of the force. And it's the blast was so powerful that blast created a gravity well of air.
Yeah.
And then all the air that was blown back comes rushing back in. Oh my goodness, it was incredible. This scene, the Ginza attack, is also when we first get that Godzilla score.
Yeah.
That's when we get the classic score. And
so
hearing that completely reorchestrated for the year 2023 coming out of movie theater speakers is so fucking dope. It's so good.
So good. So peak. This scene was amazing. We think, Noriko basically dies in this scene, at least from what Koichi thinks.
Yeah.
So it's just seeing him at this point. This is when Koichi just loses it.
She was because there have been a couple scenes in the movie where he has had breakdowns.
Yeah,
because of his PTSD.
Survivor's guilt.
Because of his PTSD, his survivor's guilt, the shame that he's felt, and everything that's happened to him. And Noriko and, to an extent, Akiko, they've been what's keeping him anchored.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Noriko's gone. And it's like, what else do I have to lose? What else do I have to live for? And we call, there's like kind of like a town hall meeting, calling some veterans together, led by someone in the Japanese army.
After seeing this little girl like cry for her mother in the scene where they like think that she's died and hold a funeral.
That scene, oh my goodness. The
little girl they got to play her was so adorable.
She was so cute. Well, Akiko, she was so cute. But like, her asking like, "Where's mommy?" Mommy had to go away for work for a little while, and it's like she knows, and she just starts crying.
And it's so weird because like after this, we end up getting the whole scene where like the government has refused to help with Godzilla. They basically just want to ignore it. And I'm just like, that's not how this works. You can't treat this like another war because you can't reason with this.
Mm-hmm. But I love this town hall scene where we have, like the commander, colonel, whatever. I don't know what his rank is. Forgive me, but the older guy with the mustache, he's in there. He's
Mustache.
like, he's got a nice mustache, and then we find out that Doc turns out is the mastermind behind a plan to stop Godzilla. And I love the other crew members' reaction of like, well, who knew he was such a bigwig?
I honestly thought when he was about to take the thing off, I thought we were about to get another oxygen destroyer.
I'm actually glad that it wasn't.
Same. I'm happy that they went with something different for this, with a different level of science, because the oxygen destroyer was a little bit more scientific.
It's definitely science fiction.
This way is just like, oh, it fits more in the real world because of scientific properties.
Yes. So what we do is if we pump the water around him with Freon gas, he will become like the water will displace. He'll become heavier and he will sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Basically, you're trying to pressure him.
And they're like, well, he lives in the ocean. We can't do that. It's like but even deep sea fish, if they experience a change in pressure. We saw this earlier in the movie with the fish with their swim bladders that had bursted out of their bodies.
Actually, a good way to see this. If you've ever seen a blobfish, what it looks like on the ocean floor
versus what it looks like
when it's taken up, it's very different.
Yeah, it's but like so like it's going to be that rapid change in pressure. We're essentially going to like crush him with the force of the ocean, and if that doesn't work, we will then use balloons,
a buoy system
to bring him back up to the surface, and then that change in pressure again from bringing him to the depth, then back to the surface. That'll wreck him, and that's what's going to get him.
Like, how are we going to get him here? Well, we're going to use a recording of his own voice. I think somebody else is intrude on his territory. This is the funniest scene for me.
Okay.
Because Godzilla's like, is that me? I'll kill me!
I never thought about it, but that is kind of funny when you say it that way.
It's a Vegeta. It was so funny. It was so funny.
Is that me?
It was the most unintentionally hilarious part of this movie. And that's only because of DBZ abridged. Is that me? Oh, kill me!
But
loved it.
Great. And I just the fact that some of the people in the room, they're like, I don't want any part of this. This is stupid. But I love the commanding officer's response of like, please, just very calm. He's like, please just listen to me. Yeah, the way we have been treated is terrible. The way you've been treated is terrible. I understand that you're angry.
Yes.
Everything that has happened, none of this is in order.
Yeah.
You are not obligated to do this. You're free to come and go as you please, but please, we could really use your help.
Yeah.
And some of them leave.
And which is like, can you get me a plane? Because they need a distraction.
Yeah.
To,
in case, because they have like a defense team in the water that's going to like lure him around with a voice and also shoot at him to keep him ocean bound.
That ship gets thrown immediately.
Oh, God, he destroys it immediately.
Because he kills him.
And then Godzilla goes to make landfall again, and in order to, it's like, well, all the planes, because it's post-war Japan, planes have all been decommissioned, but I loved this so much. There is a prototype plane I love how this thing looks. I love like prototype retro futurist stuff like this is stuff that really makes me happy. And seeing this plane with like the propeller on the tail, the way the wings look, it's like, oh, this is like really like retro futurist kind of stuff, and I love it. And it looks
probably
great.
Some blueprints for this particular model out there.
They said it never went into production.
Yeah.
I don't know how historically grounded this is, but it's still cool to see. And in order to fix this plane up, it did. Kyushu J7 Shinden. That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a picture of it from 1945. But, yeah, so in order to fix it up, Koichi gets in touch with Tachibana.
Who hasn't been seen since the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
And I was really hoping by this point, I'm sitting here like, I hope he comes back. And then he did.
He does, and the way he does is fantastic.
Yeah, he beats the shit out of Koichi.
I love that because it's like, well, I had to get your attention, so I wrote you a bunch of letters saying that the Odo massacre was your fault. It's like, I knew you wouldn't come otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's just like walking on the street at night, and then from behind we see like a guy with a limp because Tachibana hurt his leg in the Odo attack, and he just clubs him from behind and then ties him up, brings him into his house, and just starts beating him up.
God, it was great.
And
it was so good.
But then it's like, no, I have to make amends for what I did. You're the only one who can fix this. So him and a few other mechanics, they fix the plane.
Take out one of the fuel canisters and put another bomb.
Bomb in
because Koichi is basically planning on doing a kamikaze run.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that you actually end up seeing him say there's something else in there before it tells you later.
Because we see him kind of like lean in, looking at like because it's interesting because the instructions are in German.
Yeah,
they're written in German, and he's kind of looking at this like, huh. And he's talking about the ship, and then he's like, one more thing, Koichi, and then the sound kind of goes out and the music swells up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was like, that's an ejector seat. I remember thinking that's an ejector seat. That's what he's telling him.
Koichi and Akiko before he ends up going like to the actual thing, like on the day of this is all happening.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up leaving a little letter beside her, and Akiko takes it out to Auntie and gives it to her with a whole bunch of money.
It's a bunch of money in it with a note that says like, this is for her.
Take care of her.
And
then we end up getting the final scene.
And then we get our final scene. The Godzilla is used once in the first, second, and now the third acts. We get him, like 3 big scenes with him throughout the movie. And this scene, with the first thing we see, like everyone's on the dock ready to cast off to encircle him with the gas tanks and the inflatables.
After he kills him. And then a ship on fire comes flying out of the water.
Just comes soaring out of the water and crashes into a warehouse on the docks.
They were planning on basically bringing him into a giant trench to make sure that he can go down.
Yes, the deepest part of the ocean that they've mapped out off the coast, so they can, that's like where the pressure will be the strongest. They leave
the kid behind because at this point it's up. He's part of the future. They don't want him to die like they possibly could.
It's like, I know, it's like, yeah, you're all obsessed with honor. You've been, because he grew up listening to his superiors being like, we shall fight for our country, we shall die for our country, we shall die for honor, la 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 la. And this movie does such a good job of illustrating, like, no, that way of thinking was stupid.
Yeah, like life is supposed to be precious.
Yes.
We shouldn't just
they did not value human life. We should. And they tell him, go live for the future. But yeah, then Koichi manages to lure Godzilla from land back to the ocean in a way that I thought was very cool. Just some really great shots of him flying so close to him, Godzilla trying to snap at him. For as big as he is and for as lumbering as he is, I think they do a good job of making him agile in the right ways.
Yeah. Not just like the sudden grab or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, showing that he's still fast enough.
Yeah.
And then, Koichi just dodging and everything and then bringing him out with the 2 boats and circling him in like a cool scene where they had to like barely touch each other.
The tension is really great because it's like 2 like small destroyers that are bumping up against each other trying to encircle him, but they managed to do it.
2 decoy destroyers.
That's the scene where you realize it's the decoys.
Yeah.
Because Koichi is like bobbing and weaving in the air trying to luring Godzilla out. We see Godzilla start to power up. We see the blue glow come in, and we see him get ready, and we see him powering up, and Doc, because like we don't see like the point of view of like them. It's like we're cutting to them in the ship, and then Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then we see like a wide of the ship.
Yeah.
So it's like, are they on the ship that Godzilla's about to shoot at? But then they do this great reveal of the what do you call it? The helm has been like completely tied up.
Yeah.
With ropes to keep it from going off course. Godzilla blows up a decoy ship, and they manage to encircle him.
Yeah. And then he just gets dragged down. And I love the scene when they do that because he's about to fire again. and then he gets dragged down, and then the lights just shut off.
Once he gets down to like the depths of the trench, the glue just and like his whole body just kind of like he freezes up because of all the pressure hitting him at once. And then it's the thinking like, okay, and then I think it's like the coil, the metal on the pulleys starts to like
the cranes.
It starts to like twist and like contort, like something is starting to fight against it. It's like, okay, that didn't work. Get into the surface.
Plan B. Mm-hmm. To basically crush him in the opposite direction.
Yes.
So then he gets up to about 800 meters down and ends up chewing through the cable.
He gets to the he gets the inflatables off of him. Like he chews through those, but they've still got him tied up. But the destroyers do not have enough power to get through.
Yeah.
And then
the kid.
I kid you not, I cried when this happened.
The kid.
I cried when this happened.
Yeah.
The scenes of people coming together like this,
so
like this. The scene at the end of the movie, the South Korean film A Taxi Driver, gave me similar vibes from this. Nowhere near like that is the movie that has destroyed me more than anything. But like seeing like regular people coming together,
a whole bunch of tugboats,
just like all the tugboats come in and they pull the destroyers to get Godzilla up to the surface, and we see like his skin is starting to break and crack, and he's like like his body is like crunching and like contorting in weird ways, but it didn't kill him. So Koichi, with the deadest aim, flies that plane into Godzilla's open mouth.
Yep. Right when he's about
to fire his breath, and blows the top of his head clean off.
I think the coolest thing about this, if you look at it, you can see him eject.
You can, yeah.
You can see him eject out of the thing. So
it is a blink and you miss it, but like you can see it like just barely.
And then you go back to him and Tachibana talking about the fact that there is an ejector lever in the plane itself, unlike all the other kamikazes.
Because everyone is like, they all think he's dead, but then I forget who it is, but the character looks like, look, and they look, and you see like the parachute open, and then we cut back and we see the flashback of him being explained about the ejector seat.
And then Godzilla like crumbles.
Godzilla, like you kind of hear like a dying roar, like a dying like guttural.
It sounds like a whale.
Yeah,
they use a whale sound for it.
Kind of. It sounds a little bit like a whale, just like a dying guttural groan, and then his body just crumbles into pieces. And it sinks into the ocean, and they all salute as he sinks. Salute our fallen enemy.
And then we actually end up flashing back to his house, and you go back to Auntie, who's getting a telegram.
Yep.
And as everybody ends up coming back.
This has happened during the battle. We got the cut back to the house of the telegram, but then she shows up as they're all there
with Akiko.
And kind of to mirror her interaction with him in the beginning of the movie, where she's like hitting him and calling him like a waste of life and saying, like insulting him and saying horrible things. How dare you show your face? And then this one, it's like, you idiot, leaving her alone. How dare you? She's your daughter. Blah, blah, blah. Here, gives him the telegram, and we cut to a hospital.
Yep.
And that was the moment I kind of gasped.
I was so
like, as soon as we got to the hospital, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
And I think there's a difference here, because like last time we saw Noriko, she was like straight getting blasted away.
Yeah.
But I think the difference here is the fact that it felt so, in comparison to some other movies where it's just like, oh, she's still alive at the
They're
end.
alive all along.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Here it felt earned in some way. It's just like, oh, I wanted this to happen. Unlike some other movies, it's like
I was definitely like, you know what? I don't care if all that debris would have shredded her to ribbons.
I was there.
You are giving me my happy ending, and I want to mainline that shit into my freaking veins.
That's exactly
Give me this.
Exactly how I felt.
Give me this.
Exactly how I felt. Because I was so unbelievably happy that they got back together.
But in what I think is a great reveal, because they had to give you a little wink at the end as they're embracing on the hospital bed. We kind of zoom in on her neck, on Noriko's neck.
Yeah.
And what does it look like is brewing there? Some sort of radiation. We see like the veins on her neck kind of growing and expanding, and something black is like growing through her veins.
And then you go to the bottom of the ocean.
And then we cut to the bottom of the ocean, and boom, 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 and it's just like a shot of like a giant chunk of flesh, like a chunk of his torso, and it just starts to pulse, and grow. And I think they play the roar one last time.
Yeah.
I think like they play the roar one last time as that score is going on, and then we cut to black. Godzilla -1. We get our title card, and then we exit to credits as that iconic score, that reorchestrated, loud as hell, amazing score is playing.
This movie was fantastic.
It's in my top 10 of the year.
It was fantastic.
It's in my top 10 of the year. I love this movie.
So good. It was great. I really like this movie. It reminded me a lot of how I felt watching the original one when we reviewed it a couple years ago. Because it's been forever since I've seen it up until that point.
I told you this earlier, before we started this, before you surprised me. I've been prone to say this a lot, and I realize that maybe that recency bias is a thing, but this might be the best Godzilla movie, and if not, it's certainly in the top 5.
It was really, really good.
It's really good. Like, it's up there with the original. It's up there with Shin Godzilla. It's fantastic.
It's so good.
This I would say top 3.
Yeah.
Top 3, if not the best Godzilla movie.
It's just that damn good. I wouldn't even say it's just like a really good Godzilla movie. I just think it's a really good
It's
movie.
a great movie.
Yeah.
Because if you take Godzilla out of this and just made it a movie about like the trauma and PTSD of post-war Japan, even then, like if this had just been like a straight drama, I still would have been interested because the characters are well written.
Yeah.
It's a good story. It's really well acted. It looks great. And I was looking at this director's filmography last night. And
he did Doraemon.
yeah, he co-directed the CG Doraemon movies,
Yeah.
the Stand By Me ones. The Loop on the Third CG movie, he directed that. His previous filmography, at least from the movies that I've directly seen, I can't speak for the ones that I haven't, of course, but they haven't exactly impressed.
Yeah.
The Loop on the Third movie in particular.
I've heard that one was not good.
When Lupin's on the screen, it's great. Everything involving like the girl character in that movie sucks. And that's most of the movie, unfortunately. But like Lupin and his crew, they're great. The animation's really good. Oh, you know what else he directed? The Dragon Quest movie.
Never saw it.
I did. Not very good. But that's just me.
That was the Adventures of Dive, wasn't it?
It was the Your Story one. The CG one that's on Netflix.
Yeah, not watching that. Yeah, this
But
movie,
yeah, he's the director. What is his name? Takashi Yamazaki.
Yeah.
I know he comes from an effects background.
Yeah. He also
as
wrote
well.
this.
He also wrote this. He's got sole writing credit, and he is credited as the sole director. And I think he did a fantastic job with both.
This movie's great.
Bravo.
This movie's great.
This movie's fantastic.
So good. I couldn't believe it after I saw it. And I just watched it.
3 times this year, I've been able to go to the movies. I've been able to watch big budget Japanese toku adjacent movies on the big screen.
Yeah, 15 million. And with it just coming out, I think that's just the Japan box office because it just came out in the States.
Yeah, that'd be just the domestic for Japan.
Yeah, so something tells you it's going to end up,
Because
especially because
this is its opening weekend in the theater. I don't know how crowded was your screening because I know you saw it at 1.
Yeah, not a lot of people.
Not a lot of people
because it was early in the day.
Fair enough, and it was early in the day on a Friday. I saw it. Yeah, it was Friday night. Moderately packed theater. There were more people there than I think when we saw Shin Kamen Rider. That was pretty full. But yeah, I hope this does well at the box office. The audience, I know the audience, at least my audience,
Engaged.
they were very much engaged.
Here's a weird problem.
Oh.
So I went to go see it, right? Great movie, had no real problems. What was in the theater next door? Or what was in the thing next door?
Oh, I'm guessing during the quiet scenes you heard sound coming in.
A little bit. But it was Beyonce.
Oh, Renaissance, yeah, that just came
which
out.
I will be going to go see. But there's a lot of bass.
I'm not surprised.
Still a great movie. So good, so amazing.
It's like when I went to see A Quiet Place.
It wasn't quiet.
And there was a loud action movie going on in the theater next door. So sometimes there'd be loud things going on. You just hear.
It's like, y'all
all the
would
while
be
there's
dead.
silence.
Y'all would be dead. Just wanted y'all to know.
So yeah, it happens. But at least did it overall like lessen the experience at all?
It also didn't help that sometimes like Godzilla was on the screen and I knew what song was playing. It's just odd in some places. It was funny. But yeah, definitely go see this movie.
Godzilla walks on screen. All the single ladies, all the single ladies, all the single kaiju. Da, 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 da.
Great.
Godzilla -1, it rules. Go see it.
Yeah, it really does. You can go see it in theaters. So yeah.
Please do. Yes. Anytime you have a chance to see a movie like this on the big screen, please by all means take it. I'm seeing The Boy and the Heron on Monday. I was going to see it on Sunday. I changed it to Monday. I'm seeing it IMAX. I can't wait.
But yeah, G-Bon will be releasing a week late now. There's a reason.
Who cares?
There's a reason why I told you that it was episode 166 when we did the video. I lied because I knew I was going to surprise this to you.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. This was amazing to review. I'm so glad you saw it too. I'm so happy.
Yeah, don't forget to join us all the things. We'll see you next week for Japan before we go on break. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching.